everyone, my name is Caitlin and you're watching Likeable Cocktails. Now in this episode of One Bottle Bartender, we're going to be looking at bourbon and rye. Now really, what's the difference between bourbon and rye whiskey? Well, bourbon has to have at least 51% of a corn mash, whereas rye whiskey has to have at least 51% of a rye mash. Now if that doesn't make sense to you, that's totally fine. Just pick whichever spirit you like, and we're gonna make two classic cocktails that utilize bourbon or rye that are easy to make at home. Now for our first classic cocktail, we're gonna dive into the world of whiskey sours. Now whiskey sours are such a fun drink to make at home. You can master how to use an egg white in a cocktail by using these simple steps. So let's start with our equipment. Today I'm gonna be using a shaker tin. Now if you don't have a shaker tin at home, you could very easily use a bottle blender like this to make your whiskey sour. If you don't have one of these, try using a mason jar or a jam jar, as long as the lid seals tight. Now for this whiskey sour, I'm going to be using rye. Now I like to tend to use rye in my whiskey sours because it adds a nice little sharp edge to it. Now we're going to start off with 1.5 ounces of your favorite rye or favorite bourbon. For our next ingredient, we're going to need some citrus. So I'm going to take a lemon and squeeze out about 0.75 ounces of lemon juice and add it right into our shaker tin. For your next ingredient, you're gonna add a little bit of sweetness to this whiskey sour. So we're gonna use a 1-to-1 simple syrup, about 1/2 ounce, if not 3/4 ounce, right into our shaker tin. Next, I'm gonna add a little bit of bitters to our shaker tin. Now some people like to leave this to the very last ingredient when the cocktail is already done, but personally, I like to see mine shaken into the drink. I'll be using the classic Angostura bitters, but if you have something else at home, feel free to use that. I'm going to use about 2 dashes of this right into my cocktail. Last and most important to our whiskey sour is the egg white. Now don't be afraid to use egg whites at home in cocktails. It's actually very easy. Just make sure you crack your egg whites separately from where all of your cocktail ingredients are, just in case you get some shell or egg yolk in there. So I'm gonna add just 1 egg white to this. Now before we add ice, we're gonna want to dry shake our cocktail. That's gonna help make the egg whites light and fluffy. So I have my cocktail here assembled in my shaker with no ice, and I'm gonna give that a good shake. Just make sure you firmly keep your hands on the top and bottom of your shaker. You do not want this to explode all over you. Now once you've shaken that up for about 7 seconds, you're ready to add your ice and shake it all over again. So personally, I like my whiskey sour served straight up, but if you like it over ice, there's no harm in that. And just like that, you have your whiskey sour. Cheers! And for my second classic cocktail, I'll be showing you how to make an old-fashioned. Now an old-fashioned is basically the definition of a cocktail. You're using spirit, bitters, sugar, and water. Now when you combine those 4 elements, you have yourself the start to any great cocktail. So for the old-fashioned, we're going to start off with our sugar. Now you can use a simple syrup, you can use raw sugar, you can use a sugar cube, or you can change it up and use a sugar supplement. So today I'm going to be making this old-fashioned with maple syrup. Now it's up to you if you want to start this cocktail off in a mixing glass or just in the glass you're going to serve it in. Today I'm going to be using my mixing glass. So I'm going to take my maple syrup and add about a tablespoon of maple syrup. Now to my maple syrup, I'm going to add bitters. Today I'm using Angostura bitters, but if you have something at home that you want to use instead, maybe a coffee bitters, a chocolate bitters, an orange bitters, that will work too. Now I like a healthy portion of bitters in my old fashioned, so it's up to you if you want to use 2, 3, 4, 17 dashes. Really, it's up to your personal preference. Today I'm going to do 3 dashes of Angostura bitters. Now to this, I'm going to add the oils of an orange peel. This is really going to heighten all the flavors of this cocktail really nicely. So when you have your orange peel, just give it a quick spritz into the glass. Now for your last and most important ingredient of your old fashioned, the bourbon. I'll be using 2 ounces of this 10-year-old aged bourbon. Now to round out and really soften our old fashioned, we're gonna add some ice and stir it down for dilution. Now I'm gonna stir this down to my desired taste, but I would say probably at least 30 seconds will do. Now that your old fashioned is properly diluted, we're going to pour it over a piece of ice into our rocks glass. Now I'm using this really fun big piece of ice, but if you don't have a big ice mold at home, that's totally okay. You can just use your cubed ice right out of the freezer. Now to finish this off, just another spritz of orange over the top and you're ready to serve it. And there you have it, your old fashioned. Cheers! So there you have it, 2 classic cocktails you can easily make at home, the whiskey sour and the old fashioned. Now give it a try and let me know how it goes. So hit like and make sure to follow for more videos on One Bottle Bartending here on Likeable Cocktails. Jack, will you jump up? I swear to God. Jackie, this isn't your show, go.